Welcome back to another Robot Wars review! We're still in Series 2. These seasons are gonna get long. Robot Wars back in the day was a huge deal with so many robots taking part that there were so many heats. We're here now with Heat F. And honestly, I'm excited to talk about this one. Let's not waste any time and let's get into it. In this intro, Craig goes on a weird tangent about Frankenstein. Though it is less strained than the Monty Python bit, Craig, while a breath of fresh air compared to Jeremy Clarkson, it's still apparent Craig is finding his footing as the host of Robot Wars, as some of these intros are definitely not quite as fluid and energetic as we would come to get used to with Craig. Still, with the competitors on their way, I was still ready for some more robot action. First up is Disruptor with a surprisingly forward-thinking design. It has a circular saw with a moving arm, which is shocking that this took place in the late 90s when such a design would go on to be used by modern BattleBots greats such as Scorpios and BattleBots' latest champion Sawblaze. I was especially curious now to see if this design was going to be secretly brilliant or if it was just too ahead of the curve for the sport being as young as it was in the UK. Disruptor comes in at 82.1 kilograms. Next up was Corporal Punishment, coming out with a lifting scoop, though it did look more like a lifting rake, with it looking like it was designed by the Beast team or something. Coming from Adam Clark of 259 fame, who had entered the previous series with Vector of Armageddon, it looked like once again a fairly solid design from Adam. I just hoped going in that it would do better than Vector did. It comes weighing in at 76.5 kilograms. Panic Attack comes out next, and immediately I knew from this point the direction this heat would go, though I won't spoil it for those who are new to Robot Wars. Panic Attack is a future legend of the sport. With its lifting forks, it's simple but very effective. It weighs in at 81.8 kilograms. Ron is up next and... aww, it looks like a small child's toy. With drills, cutters and undercutting saw at the back though, Ron is definitely not a toy. But it is still strangely adorable. Weighing in at 78 kilograms, I just couldn't help but love this machine. Whirling Dervish is a South Bay Mauler-style robot with flails and a body made of an old tyre. Not only did it have the flails though, but it had a massive bandsaw blade to spin around, which did have me wondering if the robot would be too complex for its own good. Still, it had me intrigued as it comes weighing in at 79.7 kilograms. Finally was the Parthian shot, which looked like the guy Whirling Dervish was told not to worry about. It's not that it looks more effective, because it doesn't really, but with all those spikes at the front, I just think it looks cooler. Still, I did wonder how well those flails would be able to reach opponents with how big the body was in comparison. Well, I would just have to wait and see if Parthian shot would make it to the fight rounds. Parthian shot weighs in at 79 kilograms. Honestly, I really like the look of the contenders this time. With a nice variation and creative designs, there were a few I'd really like to see battle. The Gauntlet is up first, and Panic Attack starts us off, and as simple as the robot looks, it already looks solid. It seems the producers got sick of everyone taking the middle route, as this time it has one of those moving ram rig walls from the right side in there now, which Panic Attack does have some issues with. Still, they make it to the ramp with Killalot chasing them up the ramp, and weighing the seesaw down on one side, meaning Panic Attack has to run up the ramp. They mention Evel Knievel as Panic Attack does it, and Panic Attack lands right on top of Dead Metal, getting stuck on the house robot. Things just go from bad to worse here, as Shunt comes over, dealing some nasty damage, making several notable dents in the top armor before breaking this one box in the top, where I imagine the link for the robot was, so I wouldn't have been surprised if Panic Attack had stopped working right there. Still, it wouldn't matter as their run comes to an end with an actually quite nice 10.8 meters, meaning that unless everyone else had the performance of a lifetime, Panic Attack would most likely be safe. I gotta say, I loved the leap the Panic Attack did. That was honestly really daring, and I'm kinda glad about it because it was either that or get destroyed by Killalot. Corporal Punishment was up next, and they decided to go for the ram rig on the right hand side, and somehow, despite how wide they are, they managed to get through with no problem. I'm actually kind of surprised. There are robots more sleek than Corporal Punishment that really struggled with that path. Dead Metal does push them back, but they are eventually able to make it past Dead Metal, where they speed over to the finish line. Honestly, it's pretty impressive with how much people struggle with that right side. Corporal Punishment guarantees to make it to the next round, and I gotta say, the robot is pretty well made. Again, Adam Clark just makes very solid designs, even if they may not be what you typically expect. You know, Vector of Armageddon was really quite a solid robot, and I think the only surviving Series 1 competitor, and Vector of Armageddon is quite nimble, really. And of course, later going down the line, I can't wait to see Adam Clark bring 259 to Robot Wars. That'll be a future review, of course. It's Ron's turn, and Ron is a little unsteady as the spikes turn them off course, but they do manage to make it up the ramp, though they end up doing this backwards as they seem skew-if heading forwards. Still, with the house robots pushing the ramp and Killalot harassing Ron falls off, and similar to Panic Attack, Dead Metal holds them in place where Shunt swings away at them as their run comes to an end. Still, with a distance of 11.6 meters, they are safe. Disruptor is up this time, and honestly, the robot to me is so super impressive, making its way up the ramp, but Dead Metal pushes it out of the way, which, surely that's gotta be unfair. Like, what are they meant to do in that point? Because they've got no chance of climbing up, as Killalot just tips them over. Again, I've got no idea what they were meant to do in that situation, and with just 5.5 meters, I was nervous that we were going to see Disruptor get screwed out of the fight rounds. Whirling Dervish's turn was up this time. Unsteadily, they went to the ramp where they fell right off due to the full body spinner issue of not knowing where the front is. This is something that's always been an issue with full body spinners, so typically you'll see like a lot of full body spinners will find little workarounds. I know for Megabyte and Gigabyte, the self-righting pole also acts as a way to point them in the right direction. I know some full body spinners use lights to point forwards. It's something that teams had to figure out ways of working around because, yeah, it gets very difficult to navigate a circle. Circular Lot lifts up Whirling Dervish, who spins up in the air with actually some pretty impressive speed for the time. And much to mine and Jonathan Pierce's confusion, Killalot actually carries them a good distance further. With that, their run ends with 9.5 meters. There was a little smoke at the end. Still, they should be thankful that Killalot was just so generous with them. Parthian Shots is up last, and they are the latest robot to be having issues, and it turns out they only just finished building it, and the robot is suddenly not working at all. They spend the rest of their time trying to get the robot ready for the gauntlet, but unfortunately, much like Pain, were unable to get it ready in time, with apparently only having got the robot ready just as time had run out. With that, Parthian Shot is eliminated. On one hand, I am sad for them. On the other, it meant Disruptor got another chance, which I was still happy about. But I still feel bad for the team, because working hard on a robot like that, just for it to not even get a chance of entering, that sucks. I hate when that happens. I remember feeling bad when the Doom team made it to BattleBots, and they just couldn't pass the tests to be able to enter into World Championship 7. I totally understand, of course, why, rules and regulations and whatnot, but you do hope that somehow the teams will find a way. Anyway, we move on to the next round, which is the return of the Sumo. The robots have to last as long as possible. The robot who lasts the least amount of time would be eliminated, with robots that survive or even push Shunt off being guaranteed to move on. Panic Attack is up first with an eye patch added to the spider on the back because of the attacks from Shunt earlier. And it's looking quite ropey at first as Shunt nearly pushes them off. Though as Shunt backs away, Shunt ends up driving off the platform. That means that Panic Attack is guaranteed to make the next round, having beaten Shunt in Sumo. Even if not by their own hands. Whirling Dervish starts their run, getting up to speed, smacking Shunt with the flails, who seems almost amused, though eventually muscles them to the edge, where they tumble in 20.27 seconds. Not too bad, and again, I do love the speed Whirling Dervish gets up to, it's again impressive speed for the time. But flails tend to not do a whole lot of damage, so yeah, it didn't really amount to a whole lot. Corporal Punishment rounds right into Shunt, and there's some awful screeching from the tyres as they end up in a deadlock. The Corporal nearly drives off the edge, but stop themselves, and Shunt apparently hit the booze again, falling right off, meaning that the Corporal is guaranteed to move on. Disruptor is up next, and things look promising as they manage to wedge Shunt. Shunt did make it to the side, but Disruptor was proving to be difficult for Shunt to make any headway with, so Shunt backs away and tries again, ending back up on the ramp of Disruptor. The 30 seconds are hit, meaning Disruptor is safe, having survived. Finally, it's Ron's turn, and almost certainly added in for comedic effect, they have an interview with the Ron team saying that Sumo is their thing, given that Ron has some high torque, which, on paper, yes, that absolutely would help you out in Sumo. But just as quickly as the Sumo starts, it's over, as Shunt rams into them and shoves them right off. As much torque as Ron has, their ground clearance is far too high. With that, Ron is eliminated with just 4.6 seconds on the clock. It's time for the fight rounds now, and I was honestly really excited. For me, these were the best robots to be heading into the fight round, as I felt they could all put on an entertaining fight, all being well. First up was Panic Attack and Whirling Dervish. The fight begins and Whirling Dervish is quickly up to speed, having some decent momentum for a Series 2 machine. Still, Panic Attack seems unaffected as they ram into the bot and soon tip the spinner over. With that, Whirling Dervish is done as Dead Metal grabs them, placing them over the flame pit as Shunt and Matilda descend like vultures. Meanwhile, Panic Attack is not satisfied, attacking Bash and dislodging their rear saw. Honestly, this was a really fun fight. Whirling Dervish is a pretty good spinner for the time, and Panic Attack was so amazing with that performance, showcasing that they are a great lifter bot, not only taking out their opponents in quick fashion, but dealing with Bash as well. Next up was Disruptor versus Corporal Punishment, and the match begins with Corporal Punishment ignoring the saw and ramming right into them. The scoop is almost acting like a bike rack for the saw, keeping it at bay. Disruptor does get a nice push on the side, but the saw just doesn't seem to be able to do much damage even when it is being used. Thankfully for Disruptor, the house robots descend on Corporal Punishment, with Matilda and Shunt doing enough damage for the lot of them. Corporal Punishment does break away in the end, but it's much too late as the fight goes the distance and to the judges. The judges in the end gave the fight to Disruptor, which in my opinion was much deserved, though the Corporal did try their best. Disruptor was just more aggressive and got more substantial action in my opinion. Which leads us to the heat final, Panic Attack versus Disruptor. Honestly, two of my favourite designs of the heat. Panic Attack starts off getting under Disruptor, and in some disaster for Disruptor, the saw can't get low enough to damage Panic Attack. Panic Attack then gets around, pushing Disruptor over to the pit, where, with a little adjustment, Disruptor goes in, being eliminated from the competition. Meaning that Panic Attack wins the heat final. Another fun fight. To me, the pit is actually a really good addition to an arena because it gives control robots a great option in the arena. You know, it's something that I would love to see BattleBots maybe experiment with. Hell, if you want my opinion, if you don't want to get rid of the shelf, I would recommend putting a pit on the shelf. That way you can't just immediately shove someone in. You actually have to ram your opponent on top of the shelf and then get them into the pit. Meaning that it wouldn't be available to just anyone. But that's just me. Anyway, but I like it because it's an option for the robots that can't do incredible damage, but have great control and aggression. And so they don't have to just endure the entire time. Panic Attack being a great example of that with this elimination. And trust me, as the robots get more powerful, the pit is almost certainly going to be needed for many of these robots. You'll see some great examples of that as we continue with these reviews. Anyway, overall, this heat was wonderful. We got a great variety of designs that all felt like they had something to offer, despite the sadness of Parthian Shot. Disruptor was a surprising design for so early on, Whirling Dervish was a shockingly quick flail spinner, Corporal Punishment, while not flashy, was extremely solid, and Panic Attack was easily the MVP of the episode. They dominated the opposition and even put up a good fight against the house robots. It's easy to see why Panic Attack went on to legendary status in Robot Wars with stellar performances like these. This is another episode I highly recommend you check out. If you go onto Mech Plus, you can watch it officially there. I can't speak for any other ways of watching it. To me, it's a great way of checking out Robot Wars episodes. Honestly, like, this is another good one. Like, for such an early on point of Robot Wars, I'm having way more fun with Series 2 than I was Series 1. It is, again, night and day. And it leaves me excited for what's to come. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please be sure to leave a like on this video. Comment down below what you thought of this heat if you've watched it already. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified of future videos on the channel. I'm doing reviews of several different Robot Combat series at the moment, so although I'm having a little bit of trouble doing them every single week, I'm doing Robot Wars Series 2, I'm doing BattleBots' Comedy Central Season 1.0, and I'm also going to be trying to bring back my King of Bots reviews, because I did the first episode, and you all seem to really like it, so I'm hoping to bring that back as well, just see how the time goes, and I'm trying to finally get out my BattleBots Proving Ground 2023 review. Hopefully that'll be soon. I'm hoping to make it this week. Apologies for the delays there, but again, I massively appreciate the support. If you want to help me out in a huge way, there's also the join button. If you become a member, you get access to custom emotes as well as members-only videos. I try to make them when I can, and I'm hoping that you'll also get the warm, fuzzy feeling of helping me out. Thank you so much either way, regardless of what you choose to do, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye, guys!